Hi, my name's Nick Craig, and I'm the president of the Core Leadership Institute. Starting this journey, this movement, in some ways, Bill George was the one who really drove the beginning of this journey. And I happen to be someone who worked with him in helping codify what does it mean to be an authentic leader and how do we help people learn how to do that. And we went around the world and got to teach programs in many powerfully wonderful places, Unilever being one of them in London, among others. And the last 15 years, the real shift that we've seen is that originally authentic leadership was about going from being the charismatic leader to being truly yourself and leading from that place. And I think what's happened in the last 15 years is it's gone from a nice to have to a have to have. The level of transparency, the level of the VUCA world, the volatile, uncertain, chaotic, ambiguous world that we now live in, I think requires us to find solid ground, and that solid ground is inside of us. It's not on the outside anymore. It's not in the buildings. It's not in those facades that we no longer go visit. So in some sense, it's gone from a nice to have to just truly the requirement to function. So I think that's the big shift for me in the last 15 years. The interesting thing is that I remember working with a leader, and he was dealing with the Great Recession, and he said, the only thing that got me through this was my purpose, because he said it's the only thing that doesn't change. And he said, my purpose is to be the water raft guide that safely gets you down through the rapids. And he actually did that, and he actually saved people's lives. And I realized in that moment that actually it is the only thing that doesn't change. Strategy changes, tactics, everything has been ripped away. And in some sense, purpose is the one thing no one gives you and no one can take away. So it's that part of that unique gift that has always been who you are. It's the red thread. So that's why it's so important right now, is because we need something that doesn't change to stand on. And in some sense, purpose really is the ultimate expression of that foundation for each of us. At the core of authentic leadership is this fundamental concept of trust. In some sense, it's about how do we trust ourselves? Until we really know ourselves, we can't trust who we are. And in the more we trust who we are, the more other people trust us. Psychological safety is something that we've all talked about. And how do you create it? In some sense, the challenge with COVID and the world we live in is we spend only much of our time with the leader that we work for, not in the institution. And in some sense, how do we feel that connection of trust with them and vice versa becomes even more important than it ever has been in the past. What's interesting about greater trust and greater value is that Google did this wonderful research called the Aristotle Project, where they looked at the best teams and they thought about how they would work, and they put the best people in it, and that didn't work. And what they found was the teams in which everybody ended up talking equally and there was equal levels of trust was the ones that excelled enormously in comparison with the others. So in some sense, it's the intangible that's the most important tangible thing we have these days. Is that sense of intangible trust, and are we willing to talk about the thing that is the hard thing that we need to talk about? And do we feel like it's a safe place to have the dialogue? And most of the problems we have to solve right now are ambiguity, paradox-laden, crazy things that trust is the required ingredient to solve them. The manual will not help you anymore. Yeah, I think what needs to be on the leadership agenda is the fact that, Apple has this spaceship headquarters that they built. They spent billions of dollars on it, and nobody's going to go to it for who knows how long. Okay. The question is what does it mean to work for an institution? It's the intangibles, once again, that become the most prominent. The organization's purpose, and how do you write a story for which you become a hero in a scene in that movie of what it means to live the organization's purpose is the thing that everybody needs to be able to write. Because without that, everybody's going to keep moving around and everybody's going to lose people, and no one's going to stay, because what's the stickiness that has people say, this is the place I belong? In some sense, that's what we need to be creating right now, is that sense of purpose, the organization's purpose, the individual's purpose and its connection, and why am I here is the ultimate thing that we need to be able to help leaders do right now.